Doc! Doc! Okay, relax, Doc. It's me. It's Martin.
No, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Yeah. Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Great Scott.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Whoa, this is heavy.
All right, let's bring on my friend Brad Gilmore.
Yeah.
Right. Brad's with the CW 39 in Houston. He's also a Critics' Choice. He's got a new book out.
Yes.
A fan's look at the Back to the Future franchise. All right, it is Why We Love Back to the Future. He's also hosting a SummerSlam preview show with my guy Booker T, 5-time champion on ESPN Radio tomorrow. Our pal is Brad Gilmore. Brad, how you doing? Good to see you, man. So help us out here, okay? Naked Gun, you're all over the movies too. Is there, like, Tony's question there, is there a generation that just is not going to have any idea what this movie, Naked Gun, is this weekend, and it's going to hurt it at the box office? Because I think it's going to be a big hit.
I think it's going to be a big hit, but I do agree with Tony. There's a whole generation of people who have no idea what the Naked Gun is. You say Leslie Nielsen, you might as well be speaking in Mandarin. But I think when you have Liam Neeson, you have Pam Anderson, they've been on one of the generational press runs, especially with them as a couple. I think it's going to pique everybody's interest. And I haven't seen the movie yet, but everybody's giving it rave reviews. And to me, the joke when they say man's laughter and it's manslaughter is such a classic Naked Gun joke that I think that they're going to nail this landing.
Now, are you confirming Liam Neeson, Pam Anderson? They're a couple. They were very coy about it.
They're coy about it, but I don't know why Liam Neeson's being so coy. I mean, you're talking about one of the all-time top 10 dimes. We're talking about an all-time fine list with Pamela Anderson. I'd be yelling it from the mountaintops if I was him. But I think that I'm going to go on record of the Dan Le Batard show. Brad Gilmore's confirming them as a couple. I have no inside knowledge of that, but I'm wearing a suit, so it makes me feel more legitimate.
Yeah, and you got a microphone. You're in a studio. Everything about it screams legitimacy. I believe it. I choose to believe Zaz. Now, Brad, your book is about Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future. I love it to the point where I can recite whole sections. I do any sort of prompt. My guy Dave over here said, oh, Mayor Goldie Wilson. I said, Mayor Goldie Wilson, I like the sound of that. A colored mayor, that'll be the day. You'll see, Mr. Carruthers, I'll clean up this town. Good, you can start by sweeping the floor. I love Back to the Future. It is timeless. I was thinking about actually today, sitting on the couch, I said, is this the most, not the best movie ever, but the most perfect movie ever? What is it? Why do people love Back to the Future so much?
Well, I think there's a few things. I do agree with you. It is a perfect movie, and if you don't take my word for it, Quentin Tarantino said it's on his short list of perfect movies that are ever been made. And to me, what people love about it is, yes, we like the time travel, we like to fantasize about it, but Bob Gale came up with the idea for this movie when he found his father's yearbook in the basement, and they went to the same high school, and he was like, what would happen if my parents and I went to high school together? And that is where the basis of Back to the Future is, and it really comes down to, it's a movie about choices, just like life is, how one thing can change your entire future. And I really believe that's what's made it last for these last 4 decades and why it's so generational, because everybody, look, effects age, jokes don't land, but that story will always stand the test of time, quite literally. And I think that's why it is a perfect movie and people come back to it year after year.
I agree with everything that everybody is saying here about the greatness and perfection adjacent that movie is. The only issue is with Mayor Goldie, as my pal David Feeney, the cinephile, pointed out to me many moons ago, and he's right. What is revealed is that Goldie reaches his dream of being the mayor, but he's a terrible mayor. Look at the town in 1985 versus 55. I'm going to be the mayor one day. Like, well, man, it turned into crap under your watch, man. It's like an X-rated movie house.
It's a porn house over there instead of
There's also the griminess of the 1980s. I don't think we can put all that on Mayor Goldie Wilson because he did clean up the town. He did do what he wanted to do. We don't know how many administrations he's in. How many times has he been elected? What does the city council look like? There are many factors.
I'm speaking truth to power, and you're giving them cover.
There are many factors that go into it. You can't all put that on Mayor Goldie Wilson, but we do know that he started a lineage of his family where by the second movie, the third Goldie Wilson is putting hover control conversions and automobiles of the day. So he started something, and for people to aspire to. Whether he was a great mayor or not, I stand by my guy Goldie.
Propaganda.
Brad, is Back to the Future 2 better than Back to the Future 3? How do you rate those two?
So Back to the Future 3 is my favorite of the trilogy. I know that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, but before you question me too much on it, Christopher Lloyd, who played Doc Brown, when I talked to him on my podcast, he said Back to the Future Part 3 was his favorite of the trilogy. So I feel like I'm backing it up with some more credibility other than the suit and the big hair. But I think that Back to the Future Part 2 is one of the more interesting movies ever made. I can't think of a sequel, really, until you were talking about the Avengers movies. They do this in Avengers Endgame. But where you go in the sequel, you go back to the first movie and see it from a different angle. It's such an interesting film, and you can make the argument that it gave us the more iconography, the flying DeLorean, the Mr. Fusion, the hoverboard, the almanac, the Pepsi Perfect, the Cafe 80s. There's a lot more iconography from Back to the Future Part 2 than maybe even its predecessor.
Wow. So the book is Why We Love Back to the Future. Have you ever, if you break it down, Brad, have you ever come across a more ridiculous plot line than going back in time and trying not to have sex with your mother?
When you frame it that way, sure, it can be ridiculous on its surface. But at the same time, when you think about it, if you went back to your high school, okay, I'm not going to get weird here, but if you go back to the high school and the person the woman, the girl that everybody wants to take to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, even if she happens to be your mother, finds you appealing, right? Aren't you flattered a little bit by that? He's actually kind of flattered by it at first. He's like, you're so hot, you're so young, right? Because he didn't want to say hot, because that would definitely have made it weird. It definitely would have made it weird. But Bob Zemeckis, who directs the movie, he says the way that you pay that storyline off, and it's his favorite line in the movie, it's when they kiss in the parking lot of Hill Valley High, and she says, when I kiss you, it's like I'm kissing my brother. Like there's some space-time continuum that told her that somewhere down the road we're actually going to be related.
Yeah.
That's what made the movie work for him, and that's, if it's good enough for Bob Zemeckis, we're talking about Forrest Gump, we're talking about Castaway, it's good enough for me.
Brad, I want to tie a thread from Naked Gun to Back to the Future, because Naked Gun is Seth MacFarlane is the mind behind that. And there's a scene in Family Guy where they come back to 1985 and Marty's dad is like, yeah, you don't think it's weird that the kid that we have looks exactly like the dude that we saw in high school? I think that's the biggest plot point.
Great point.
That's the biggest plot hole. It's not what you said, Zaz.
Great point.
It's the idea that George McFly was cool with,
right.
Hey, we're gonna name him Marty. Cool, that's a cool name. I was like, wait a second, he looks exactly like Marty. Wait,
come on, man. But do you remember somebody you hung out with for a week 30 years ago in high school? I can't even remember the name of my best friend in high school. And we're supposed to expect that he doesn't he remembers Calvin Klein so intimately that he's like, oh, yeah, maybe he bears a somewhat resemblance 30 years later. No. I'm not buying it.
By the way, you want to talk about creepy relationship stuff? The one in Big is actually does result in vigorous lovemaking.
Yes.
With a 12-year-old boy.
Well,
she's an adult woman.
She doesn't know.
Who lays down with a 12-year-old. It's creepy.
I'll let you debate the merits of that one.
Now, you mentioned Zemeckis and that he's airtight and he's to be taken so credible. But his other movie, and we already mentioned it, Castaway, I'm bothered by the fact, talk about relationships, his plane crashes into the sea, and he survives it somehow. And he lands on this island and somehow survives and gets off the island. Yeah. And he throws himself out into the waters and a boat happens by and he's saved. It costs him his friend, his ball friend.
Wilson!
All of it. He makes it all the way back to Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
He goes to visit Helen Hunt. She's like, you missed the Super Bowl, man. We got a football team. You missed the whole thing. We almost won by a yard and a half. Hey, I don't know if you heard. I was just lost at sea for the last half decade. And you're telling me about a football team? I don't give a crap.
Well, hold on,
Zemeckis.
Man. Like, was it Dyson?
Kevin Dyson.
Kevin Dyson, man.
Right there.
That's
very exciting.
Right there.
You want to catch him up to all the important things.
Greatest show on turf.
I got married. Also, we almost beat the greatest show on turf.
Yeah. Maybe I can distract you from the fact that it took me about 11 minutes to get over your tragic loss at sea to get remarried. Not just to get remarried, but I've had the time to make a baby too.
Brad-
and also watch a Super Bowl. Let me get you all caught up on what you missed.
Yeah, it's also from
game.
The Departed School of Subtlety when the movie ends with him at a literal crossroads.
Yes, yeah, like the rat crawling across the window there. Yeah. No, I agree. But look, Zemeckis also has a lot more killer than filler. When you talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Romancing the Stone, 3 Back to the Future movies, we're talking about all that in the 1980s going into the very first year of the 90s. And then he follows that up with Forrest Gump and then Castaway. I don't know if we've had a great run like that in some years. Like, who's a director who's done that many films in such a short amount of time with that amount of quality? I can't think of one in the last 20 years. Who is it?
This is actually perfect because we've been talking about this week, right? Like, not as far as directors go, but actors. Has anyone had a better run than, what was it, Tom Hanks' 1994? Right? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, my submission, Brad, was Jim Carrey, 1994. If I ask you to find me an actor who had 3 huge box office hits in the same year on the level of Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura, who do you put up against that? One year.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Let Brad ask.
I don't think you could beat that one, to be honest with you. Jim Carrey's a phenomenal call. That's a really phenomenal call. I'm trying to think off the top of my head somebody who would rival that, and it's not coming to me. I'd have to go back and look at some of those early Leo years, because I think there was a year where it was Departed, it was Catch Me If You Can right before that, when we're talking like height of his movie stardom. But as far as movies that everybody knows right off the rip, and those are your first really 3 starring vehicles, I don't think that you really beat a Jim Carrey in the early 90s.
If you're tethered to one calendar year, that's a different thing. If it is a streak, the greatest movie streak for one actor ever is Han Solo. Ford goes Solo, Dr. Indiana Jones, Rick Deckard in Blade Runner. If you got to play any one of those roles, one of those iconic roles in your life, that would be the greatest. He played those 3 cats 3 straight movies. Then he makes Witness, so he's John Book. This movie run, look it up. There is no interruption in the early 80s for what Dr. Indiana Jones put together.
I, on behalf of Henry Jones Jr.,
Indiana was the dog's name.
I appreciate that you called him Dr. Jones, because you know what?
He earned it.
He went to 6 years of archaeology school.
That's right.
Not to be called.
He earned that. Yeah, he definitely earned that. But you know what? A lot of people talk about Indiana Jones being the best trilogy of all time. I really take umbrage with that, because you have a 4th and 5th movie that to me don't hold up to the caliber of Last Crusade or Raiders. That's why Back to the Future is the best pure trilogy out there. If you want to talk about Godfather, the first 2 are great, and then you have Godfather 3. What is another pure trilogy? You have like 9 or 12 Star Wars films. You have too many Avengers movies. What is a pure trilogy that's better than Back to the Future? I pose this question to the room.
Well, Brad, let me just, I'm going to stick up for Godfather 3. I think Godfather 3 is a good movie.
That's not a good movie.
It is a good movie. It struggles.
Sofia Coppola stinks in that movie.
What?
Yeah,
you know what Godfather 3's problem is? It's not Godfather 1 and 2. That's its problem. If you didn't see 1 and 2, you just saw Godfather 3, you say, this is a really good movie. But
Coppola is terrible in it, you're right. But the thing that really takes away from it, I agree with Amin overall. It's a pretty good picture. The worst thing about it is that Pacino forgets how he played Michael Corleone in 1 and 2. Go watch him play 3. It's like, who do you think you're doing here, man? You're doing Al Pacino now. Go back to doing the measured Michael Corleone that you used to do.
every time they
put me back in.
I was like, oh, man, he lost
All right,
it.
settle down, man.
Brad, one more thing for you here. Again, Brad's book, 40th anniversary, Back to the Future, Why We Love Back to the Future, 40 years of fandom, flux capacitors, and timeless adventures. Brad, what's the one thing while you were putting out the book, you're doing all your research, you're talking to people, what have you, that you learned about Back to the Future that was your favorite thing you didn't know before?
It was that George Hamilton was going to be cast as Doc Brown and be his consigliere. No, I'm kidding. I think that the most interesting thing that I found out was the original title of the film was Back to the Future, but the studio executive, Sid Sheinberg, at the time said that title makes no sense. What is the movie about? How do you go back to the future? That doesn't make any sense. So he sent a note to Spielberg and Zemeckis and said, I have the perfect name for this movie. It'll make it the #1 movie of all time, and this name will ring true for decades and decades after the fact. And his idea for the movie, serious as a heart attack, was Spaceman from Pluto. He said that's the perfect title for this movie. And they all were freaking out because he had some other good ideas. He changed Doc Brown's chimp to a dog. So it went from Shemp to Einstein that we know. It went from Eileen to Lorraine that was after his wife. It went from the Springtime in Paris dance to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. He was really all killer, no filler. But then he came with Spaceman from Pluto. And to me, the filmmakers, from what I found out, were shocked by this. They didn't know how they were going to get out of it. So Spielberg sent him a fax, something they used to do in the 80s that I'm sure all you gentlemen are familiar with. Yeah. And they said, thanks for the joke. It really brightened up our spirits. And they never heard from Sid Sheinberg again. And it was called Back to the Future from then on out.
Wow.
Brad, did you ever hear the story as you talk Spielberg and, Indiana Jones and all that? Are you aware of the transcript that exists of Spielberg and when they're putting together the character of Indiana Jones? And what's his name? George Lucas is saying, well, he has to be edgy. Indiana Jones has to be edgy. Mm-hmm. And Marion, who is his, they catch up in, where are they? Burma or wherever they are. Not Burma. Nepal, right. Yeah. Up in the mountains. Tibet, yes. When they meet, if you look at the language in that bar when they meet, it's pretty clear that what they're trying to pay off is what George Lucas wanted, which is that Marion, when they first met, was 12 years old.
I was a child. I was in love.
Right.
It was wrong, and you knew it.
Mean.
Hey,
yeah, I like a guy.
This is my wheelhouse, man.
That's right. But that is true. That she was that George Lucas wanted his backstory to be that he dated a 12-year-old girl, and this is true. Look up the transcript. You can find it. Brad, are you aware of this?
I am aware of it, and I am disturbed, as everybody should be. But I will say a better story for me from Indiana Jones is that they're sitting on a beach. George Lucas says to Steven Spielberg, I know you want to direct a James Bond movie. I got a better idea. I have an idea about an archaeologist named Indiana Smith, a little bit off on the title. But then in the third movie, the father of Indiana Jones, quite literally, is James Bond. I love how they brought that all back together.
Brad, excellent job, man. Tell everybody how they can get the book. Again, Why We Love Back to the Future.
Yeah, available wherever books are sold. Amazon's the easiest one. We have interviews with the cast crew. We talk about the 3 movies. We talk about the animated series, the musical, the video game, and so much more. I'd really appreciate it if you check it out.
Yeah, and if you're into, obviously, WWE like me, he and Booker T tomorrow doing a pre-show, SummerSlam pre-show on ESPN Radio. There it is, 5-time champion.
5-time.
Good seeing you, Brad. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, guys.